Welcome back to Dead Good Book Reviews. I'm Judith and you're watching another What I'm Reading Right Now video here on the channel. I don't know what number we're on. I want to say like 13 or 14 probably. Doesn't matter. We're going to be talking about what I have been reading, what I'm currently reading, and what I shall be reading next. So it's actually been a week since last time I spoke to you, and I have finished 3 things, 2 of which, I want you all to hold your breath for a second, they were physical books. I am in awe of myself. Is it as much as I would like to have read? Absolutely not. But I will take it. Progress has been made. Pages have been turned. But first, I did finish an audiobook. I finished The Stone Sky by N.K. Jemisin. This is the 3rd book in the Broken Earth trilogy, which I've been rereading, ready for an overbooked video, which will be with you in a couple of weeks. In terms of my feelings on this, I love it as an ending to a trilogy. I love the whole series. All 3 books surprised me by how well they stand on their own. I'd kind of forgotten... Well, I'd forgotten everything, but I'd forgotten how individually strong each book is, and I think it's because I read them back to back last time, which I did do now, but with other things in between, and I was flipping between physical and audio, and it's all very good. Just a really great series. I'll talk more about it very soon. If you've never read them, they are just absolutely fantastic. Apocalyptic fantasy books with a lot of sci-fi in them, a great time. On to those physical things that I finished. My T. Kingfisher read-along is ongoing, and we read A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking. This is T. Kingfisher's young adult. It is such a good story about a young wizard who has very kind of minor, in her opinion, magical powers to do with bread. And the book opens with her discovering a dead body in the bakery in which she works. She's implicated in the murder. There's a lot of things going on. It's in some ways quite a small story in terms of its scope and the city. It feels like a short story that's been expanded on, but I love it so much. I adore the character. I love the way this book explores magic. I know there is at least one other book, I think it might be a short story, that has a similar cover to this that I assume is the same universe, but I don't know. And I'm looking forward to reading that when we get to it. We'll talk more about what's next there in a moment. I've already forgotten what I just said. Did I say I read this in one sitting? I loved it. It's great. Amazing. T. Kingfisher, blowing me away every week. Also, physically finished The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. This is also fantastic in almost a similar way in terms of that it's just a story that really carried me through. I didn't feel like I was having to struggle to read it at all. I just felt like I could sit in the story and have such a great time. N.K. Jemisin is such a fantastic author, and to move from this very intense world building, cities, caste systems and so such, to just the love of New York, but also the magical world building and eldritch stuff that comes into this. Fantastic. I adore this. I'm so excited to read the sequel. More on that in just a second. If you don't know this is the story of New York, the city that is being born. We're in a world where when cities reach maturity, they sort of are born into an avatar of that city. But because New York is New York, it's born as 5 people, and there is an extra dimensional threat coming for them. It's great. Oh, fantastic. Got a lot of books to hold up for you today. Editing Judith is not going to have to do too much work, and I appreciate it. Still to read this week. This is going to be an ambitious list. Know that I'm aware of that. But we are just kind of keeping everything in the mix so that I can feed my brain whatever it wants. My review copy, since I DNF'd Spear Cuts Through Water, is Song of the Huntress by Lucy Holland. This is a Wild Hunt reimagining. Feminist. Don't know much about it. Gonna find out. This is why I said it was ambitious. The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. I really want to reread this series. I might push it to later in the year. But I know that I like this book, but it's also the teeniest, weeniest font. Maybe, maybe not. It's in the mix. It's in the mix. The Worlds We Make by N.K. Jemisin, reread the sequel. I'm going to prioritise that. I really want to get that done just because I know it's going to be good. I already know I love the book. A fantastic time. What I remember really feeling about it is that it gives me exactly what I want off the back of book 1, which is more information about other cities and the more dimensional, bigger picture situation that's going on, where book 1 is very much about the birth of New York, very specific, immediate threat. Ancillary Justice, I had this on my list for last week. I did read a small amount of it. I think I read maybe a chapter and then decided audiobook was going to be the way to go. So this is my audio for the week. And if I finish this, I will also move on to Ancillary Sword, which is the 2nd one. That's another series I just really want to complete. We're clearly hitting the part of the year where Overbooked is aligning with my series I want to finish goals, and in past me clearly thought I would have more time than I do. Normally I would talk about things added to my TBR, but I've had 0 books, nil, nada, have reached me, which I'm very grateful for, because frankly I do not have the time to add more things in right now if I want to get all of this done. New releases, I have 3 things to talk about, all of which are well, not all of them are very exciting, but some of them are very exciting. First up, The Weavers of Alamaxa, which I have behind me, ready to be read when I'm finished with Song of the Huntress. This is the sequel to The Daughters of Izdihar. I'm really excited to see what this is like. Orbit have been kicking my butt with second books lately, and this is the sequel and also the conclusion, because it's a duology, so we shall see how this one goes. The less exciting one, or the one for which I have fewer nice things to say, is Sanctuary of the Shadow by Aurora Asher. This is a fantasy romance, a romantasy book that's essentially, if you want some slightly spicy fantasy with a very loose circus setting that goes away very quickly, this might be a book for you. I haven't made a dedicated review video for this despite having been sent a review copy, because I don't have a lot to say on it. I went in not realising that's what it was, and that definitely colours your expectation of something and your interpretation of it. For me, that was me going, oh, this isn't what I want out of this book, but had I gone in knowing what it was, I wouldn't have had that false expectation, so that's kind of on me. If you like that kind of book, if you're maybe a person looking for just something very chill, like an airport kind of book, perhaps, I'm not disparaging airport books, but that's how it felt to me. It might work for you, didn't work for me. And the third book in the indie-published Once Upon a Season series is coming out this week. I think it will be out by the time you're watching this. It is called Once Upon a Spring. This is its lovely pink, beautiful cover, and it's got all sorts of stories in, including the latest from my dear friend. The bias is disclosed, but I do think the story is absolutely fantastic, from A.D. Hart. If you've loved her previous stuff, which I've recommended to you thousands of times, you can check that out. I also have a review video up for the first 2 collections, which I will link if I remember. This is my friend, but I genuinely do hugely endorse this series, and it's a great way to read more indie authors if you're not a person who reads many of them. Like me. Overall, this week is going to be a busy week for me. I've got a lot on, but I'm really excited for most of it. I think it's going to be a fun week. It's got a lot of crafting in it. It's got a lot of work because I work full time, but we are on a 4-day week and we've got a long weekend. So I'm excited to see what I can achieve. And my goal is to try and, where possible, have an audiobook on if I'm doing stuff with my hands. So not just watching endless episodes of Criminal Minds, which is what I have been doing, and I've been enjoying it. But maybe if I want to get through Ancillary Justice, I need to stop doing that. I need to make sure that what's going through my headphones is the stuff I want to go through my headphones. And lastly, I will add that the next book in our T. Kingfisher read-along is called The Twisted Ones, is one of her horror books. So if you are not wanting to avoid the horror, this is your heads up. Or if you were wanting to just read the horror, this is your heads up. We will be reading The Twisted Ones for the next fortnight starting next week. But if you want to start it early, you're very welcome to. If you want to read it later, you also can. And the discussion for that's happening over on Discord if you want to come join and hang out and talk all things T. Kingfisher. What have you been reading? What have you been up to? Let me know down in the comments below. While you're commenting, if you haven't already, please do subscribe. It makes me feel loved and appreciated. You can also come hang out on Discord, where we have chill chats about T. Kingfisher and about books. I'd like to say an enormous thank you to all the ghosts who haunt me over on Patreon. They support the channel and in return get early access to videos, bonus content, live streams, and more. If you'd like to join their number, that's linked below as well. Thank you so much to you for watching. That's all from me, and I will see you in the next one. It's gonna be some bloopers now. Welcome back to Dead Good Book Reviews. I'm Judith and you're watching another episode of Overbooked here on the... No, you're not. Every week. And lastly, do I have one of the earlier ones that I can hold up for you? I don't think I have them to reach. I think they're all downstairs. Unless it's behind me in the green section. Alas, no, they're all downstairs.